What happens when you lose control? The loss of perceived control can be better described as trauma. The thing that we allow to make our decisions for us a lot of times, unfortunately, because we don't know how to heal from it, or we don't even know that it was happening to us when it did, The loss of perceived control is the correct definition, because there's very few things in life that you actually have control over. One of the things that we have to learn as people, as human beings, is really the only thing that we can control in life is our response to what's happening around us. And that's a hard place to be at, because it puts every single piece of responsibility, accountability back onto your life, right? So you can't look around and say, well, they did. And there's certain situations to where you could potentially place some blame. Sure, that's great. At the end of the day, though, how did you respond to that blame? How did you respond to what that person did, or those people did, or how that situation turned out? Because that's really the only thing you can control. When you lose the perceived control that you think you have is when we have a traumatic event. A lot of people negate trauma to something that happens, like you lose an arm or something. That is traumatic, right? You go through a divorce. That is traumatic. You have a loss in your family. That is traumatic. Yes, all those things are traumatic. The thing that we don't understand, though, is people's brains understand and interpret different situations in different ways. So something that may not be a major deal to you could be an incredibly major deal to someone else. I heard an example given one time of a traumatic event. And what happens is, whenever we have trauma or something that comes in our life that causes significant emotional stress, duress, or significant emotional loss of control, we end up creating a set of rules for our life that keeps us from ever hoping to experience that again, right? So what your body and your brain does is say, hey, this situation sucked. What can I do now to never have that happen ever again? And even though we may consider it a small thing, there's so many things in life that can happen. One of the greatest examples I heard was a young man, 8 or 10, he makes a basketball team, and he wants some new Jordans, right? New Jordans, a couple $100. He goes to his mom and dad and says, hey, I want some new Jordans. I'm on the basketball team. I'm really excited. Mom and daddy say, hey, what do you think? Money just grows on trees? We don't have money for that. What's wrong with you? So what just happened, we see that as, oh, we're just telling a kid no, right? What if that kid interprets that entire event and says, we don't have money. We're broke. We're poor. We're in lack. I don't want to feel like this ever again. See, we don't know how the child or how the person interprets what just happened to them. So what happens is that kid now potentially could say, money doesn't grow on trees. That means there's not much of it. That means that I need to bust my butt to make sure I have enough of it so I never have to tell my kid no. A set of rules just got birthed in that kid, right? So a set of rules that says, I'm going to kill myself to make sure I can make the money. I'm going to burn it to the ground, make sure I can make everything that I can do, right? All that stuff that happens is when you're 8, 10, 12, 15 years old, right? So until you get to that age. And then as you get older, we begin to interpret trauma because we understand it better. We have hopefully some of us mentally mature better, right? Hopefully many of us will emotionally mature and be able to compromise and understand what we're doing and the life that we're trying to live, and what certain situations and things happen in our lives that we don't have to over respond, right? It's a rubber band, or it's the slingshot effect. We come way back and we're going to respond this way. Well, then we're going to get broke loose. Now we're going to respond completely the other way. So we see that in culture a lot. But what happens is now that kid has made a set of rules for his life because he lost perceived control. And now the thing that he thought may or may not have been accessible, which would be money or Jordans or whatever, is no longer there. And for us, we can minimize that, right? We can say, oh, that's crazy. That's a spoiled brat or what. Sure, maybe any of that's right. What if, though, he's not spoiled brat? What if that's how his brain is wired to interpret that situation? See, the thing that happens a lot of times is we don't understand that not many people, let me put it that way, think the exact same way that we think. If you try and explain something to somebody that doesn't think the way that you think, you're going to find yourself frustrated because you're going to not understand, why are you not getting this? So you have to try and understand, how are you interpreting this information? How can I speak it in a way that will make sense to you, right? If we don't take the time to understand how other people think, then we're going to stay frustrated in life more times than not. So not everyone thinks the way that you think. Not everyone processes the way you process. Not everybody has the same filters of life experience and information that you have. So you have to give grace and allow other people to process information the way that they need to do it. And we are responsible for when we communicate, to communicate it in the best way we can. I can't come through and figure out exactly how every one of you that's watching this thinks, right? I don't have that ability. I don't have that capability. I don't have that capacity. But what I can do is try and explain the same thing multiple ways. I don't know the correct term, but basically I'm thinking like multi-dimensional explaining is how I kind of coin it. I don't know. I'm sure somebody smarter than me will figure that out. But if I can explain the same thing multiple ways, hopefully it will get through to the way that you can interpret the knowledge and information. So trauma in itself is something that we need to understand is not necessarily what we negate it to be. We may think, oh, well, traumatic is a car wreck, or traumatic is airplane crash, something terrible, right? And those are traumatic things. But to someone that thinks differently than you, traumatic could be the loss of control, where we gave that example of that kid that can't get the Jordans. It may not be a spoiled brat. He may just think, oh my gosh, I thought we had money, now we don't. His parents didn't say, hey, we're broke, we're not getting that. His parents said, we're not getting that for you. Money doesn't grow on trees, whatever. What that instilled in him is an idea that lack is everywhere. So we have to be mindful as we're teaching and we're talking and we're sharing. One of the things that I can kind of go back to, we talk about trauma, we talk about how we explain things and all that. One of the most powerful accounts in the Bible that I can come across, right, about accountability is the man at the pool of Bethesda. So when Jesus walks up to the man at the pool of Bethesda, he says, do you wish to be made whole? Now we would interpret that as, well, the dude can't walk, right? So if you don't know that story, the man is he's been sitting on a blanket, he can't walk, he's for what we understand, he's paralyzed, he can't get up, right? Well, at the pool of Bethesda, an angel of the Lord at certain points would stir the pool, and if you could get in the pool, you'd be able to get healed. So he gave Jesus all the excuses after he was asked, do you want to be made whole? Well, nobody will take him to the pool, nobody will do this. He didn't understand that the creator of the universe is standing in front of him. Hey, your healing is right in front of you. All you have to do is say, yeah, I want to. The problem with that is the man at the pool had never been accountable for his own life. So the man at the pool of Bethesda had never had to have accountability to get his own food, to get his own clothing, none of those things. He was a beggar, which at that point in time, that was all he could do. That was the best he could come up with, and more power to him. It is what it is, right? But the problem with it is he had never had to be accountable for his life. So when Jesus asked him, hey, do you want to be made whole? He wasn't just asking, hey, do you want to be healed? That's a given. He was asking, do you want to be made whole? Meaning, do you want to now take responsibility for your life? Because you've never had to before. Do you want to now take responsibility for your food and your decisions and your clothing, and you can't rely on anybody else anymore. You can't blame it on anybody else anymore. You have to take responsibility for your actions, for your life now, because you're about to be made whole. Do you want that? And it's easy for us to glance over that account and think, well, man, the guy got healed. That's amazing. For us on the outside, that's incredible. For him, that was a life-altering, eternity-altering encounter. Not just because he got healed, but because now he's responsible for his own life. See, trauma is the loss of perceived control, meaning that I thought I had control of X, Y, Z. Well, at the end of the day, all we have control over is how we respond to a situation, guys. You can't control your wife. You can't control your kids. You can't control your boss. You can't control the car that pulls over into your lane. You can't control any of those things. All you can do is control your response to those situations. So if your response to a situation is immediate anger, immediate frustration, immediate mad, immediate fear, any of those things, right? Well, some of us need to maybe consider that we're allowing our natural immediate response to be dictated by a set of rules that were created in us by a traumatic event that we may or may not even remember. See, when you break your life down to its most least common denominator, right? When you can say, hey, when were these rules in my life set? What was the thing in my life that caused me so much pain, frustration, aggravation, or hurt that I set a lane of rules subconsciously that I'll never have to feel that again? See, if you ever went hungry, your set of rules may be, I will always have an abundant amount of food no matter what it takes. Now you're going to respond to situations in that mindset. You got hurt by a girlfriend early in life, whatever. Hey, I'll never allow somebody to hurt me like that again. And now you put up walls and you push people away, and it all stems from a relationship when you were 10 years old. And it sounds crazy. It's not. It's life. It's human nature. It's psychology. It's emotional trauma that we don't understand that we even have. So you're asked, how do I fix it? I don't even know that there's anything to fix, much less how to fix it. So when you begin to go through your life and you say, hey, I don't want these sets of rules anymore, Father. I want to be I want to be made whole. I want to be accountable for my life, but I need a new set of rules to live by. God, can you help me remember and heal from the traumatic events in my life, even though today I may not interpret that as a traumatic event. I may not today interpret a broke up girlfriend when I was 15 traumatic, but the 15-year-old me, that was traumatic. So I remember, excuse me, I had a girlfriend at the time. I don't know, I was like 17, 18, whatever. And we broke up, whatever. We've been going together a couple of years. I loved her. She loved me. Obviously, teenage love, right? For whatever it's worth, teenage love. Well, she broke up with me. And then I remember calling her and she called me, whatever. But I heard people in the background laughing when I was talking to her. That was traumatic to me. Because to me, I don't even know if they were laughing at me, man. I have no clue. So I'm just going to be completely transparent with you. I have no idea if I was being laughed at, made fun of. I don't know. But in my mind, I filtered that as these people are making fun of me, laughing at me because I'm calling a girl that I care about. And maybe she don't care about me that way anymore, right? So I set a set of rules in my heart that I was not going to allow myself to be fully, openly vulnerable with anybody ever again. Because I had done it that time and it backfired on me. So I created a set of rules for my life that said, Matt, you're not going to allow yourself to get completely, utterly vulnerable with anybody. And because you can't, because you're never going to want to feel this way again. So what I did is I shut myself off to true love, because true, authentic love doesn't work unless you're 100% vulnerable with the person that you love. It does not work. So when you put up walls and you put up blockades and you put up masks and you do all these things, true love can't really operate, right? Because we have to allow ourselves to feel everything. When you love somebody deeply, you're giving them full, complete permission and access to completely devastate you. And that's the only way it works. It don't mean they will, God willing they won't, but they have access and the ability to, because you're completely vulnerable to that person. That's the price that we pay for true, authentic love. I don't know if you've ever thought about it like that, but when you really, truly love somebody, you've given them full access to your heart, your life, your mindset, everything. They know the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything. Or they only know what you show them, and they don't love the person that you really are. They love the persona that you perceive to be. That's a dangerous place to be at, because you can only keep that up for so long. It may be years. You can keep that up for years. The problem when you only show people the certain parts that you want them to see is if they fall in love with that, you know who you really are, and it may not even be a bad person, but you're still scared that they're going to find out who that really is, and they'll no longer love you. So you keep this mask up, but eventually that creates bitterness, anger, anguish, and torment to your own life, and you build resentment to yourself because of the decisions that you made to put up blocks that you won't get hurt anymore. All of those are rules that were formed from somewhere. Traumatic event, loss of perceived control. So let's fast forward to 35, 36-year-old Matthew. I'm married, got a good wife. We have our differences, we have our issues, but I had never given her full access to me truly because I didn't know how. And it wasn't because I didn't even want to, I just did not know how. So when it goes to how are you wired, how are you thinking, I'm giving her everything that I can, but the things that I don't have access to are put up, and there's walls between there, and I can't give her all the things that I don't know how to access, right? So it's like giving somebody the key to a door that's locked that you don't have the key to. I don't know how to get you in, even though what you need is behind this door. I would love to get you in. I just don't know how. I don't have the keys. I'm sorry, So that was me. And it took some traumatic events in order for her to gain access to that, for me to gain access to it, to give it to her. And now we've come, man, I've never been happier, honestly. Like, I've never found myself in a place of fully complete surrender to another human being. And it's not that, I'm beholden to her or anything like that. What I'm saying is, like, I love her, I care for her, and I want her to have access to all the things in my life that are a part of me. I don't want her to know and love a version of Matthew. I want her to have the version, I want her to have who I really am and know that, hey, she's with me. We're good, right? That's what true love is. The problem is I was so messed up from a 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever age that I put up so many walls I wouldn't allow anybody into me, right? So, and it took healing, but it took a traumatic event to break open that shell that I created. And traumatic event to me wasn't, it wasn't a conversation. It was a traumatic event emotionally. Like it took a major event in my life and her life to give us access to the versions of ourselves that were required to truly love the other person and ourselves. See, the problem is when you have trauma and you create these rules for your life and you put up blocks, some of that you even block yourself from, which sounds wild, but the reality is, like, you can literally talk yourself into or out of a lot of things if you're not completely honest with yourself. If you constantly lie to yourself about things that you want to do, who you are, what you're doing, what your values are, because you're trying to impress upon somebody else, or you're trying to make sure these other people think XYZ about you, but you continually lie to yourself about who you really are, you're never going to be able to operate in the fullness of who God created you to be. So the question that I want to end this with is, whoever's watching this, do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made accountable for the life that you want to live? Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be healed? Do you want to have access to the very things that God's given you to walk out your life, but do you want to be responsible for them? Meaning, you can't blame mother, brother, sister, Joanne, whoever anymore. You have to take responsibility for yourself. So do you want to be made whole? So the prayer for today is, Father, allow me to be exposed to myself. Let me see me the way that you see me. Don't let me see me the way that I continually see me. Don't let me see me through the filters and through all the things that have taken me to this place of rules that I don't even know that I have. Father, break those things off of me in the name of Jesus, that I can walk in the fullness and wholeness of who you created me to be. And God, allow me to be made whole today. God, allow me to be made whole. Allow me to be healed from the traumatic events. Allow me to be healed from the micro-traumatic events, whatever you want to call it. Father, allow me to be healed, whole, and made into the image that you've created me to walk in, that I can set off all the things that have hurt me, that I can set off and forgive the people that have damaged me. I can forgive myself for creating these rules I didn't even know I had. I can respond better now moving forward, knowing what I need to respond to. I don't respond anymore, Father, to the anger, to the anguish, to the hurt. I can respond to the person, to the human, God. But Lord, I pray that you will move on our hearts, allow us to be made whole in the name of Jesus. So I hope you guys got something out of it. If you did, make sure to share it with somebody else that may could get something from it. And I hope you guys have a good day.